Hi, my name is Ivy Starnes, and I'm a gaited horse trainer in Fort Worth, Texas. Today, we are talking about this idea of what we train horses to do first. Specifically, what do we train a gaited horse to do first? There's lots of exercises out there, and I'm going to talk about my favorite exercise, or one of them, and how you can use it to help your horse do a better gait. Now, I have a whole bunch, or not, one horse, a bunch of footage I'm going to be showing you today of this horse who is gaiting really well. So, or not gaiting well. So he's high-headed, and I'm going to show you how I use the exercise of head down to get a more relaxed horse. But it's not just head down at the walk, which many people don't have any problem getting. It's head down when you go faster speeds. And to see how the horse can go faster and still keep a loose rein and work on head down. And I'm going to show you all of those steps today. And so the footage is a little bit long. I'm going to be showing you the footage of this horse. He's a Tennessee walking horse gelding. And it was the clinic that I did in Alabama. And he was very fun. He's pretty well gaited, but he tended to be pretty high-headed, pretty hot and fast. And I know that some of you, if not a lot of you, have horses that tend to be this way. And he's a good example of how giving a loose rein can make a big difference to a horse. Now, if any of you are interested in seeing the complete video, I just uploaded it today on my private training group. You can join for $99, and it's a lifetime access. You don't have to pay again. So I'm going to start showing you the footage. This first video is head down training at the walk. Now, I think this video is about 5 minutes long. I'm going to go play it and give you a voiceover of what I'm doing while it's going on. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get on and answer any questions. So while you're watching, please feel free to ask questions, and I'm going to come back and answer them for you. After we go through the walk, we're going to see how I started training him to put his head down at faster speeds, which is where a lot of you are having trouble. This is just day one. These first two videos are just day one at a clinic. So it wasn't like I've been spending tons of time. But you're going to see how this horse went from being pretty high-headed to being able to drop his head. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. This is head down at the walk. This is Cougar. I literally just got on him when this video started. He's pretty high-headed. He's neck reined, which is why I'm riding one-handed so as not to confuse the horse during the training. He's being ridden in a mechanical hackamore. Not necessarily my preference, but he does much better in this than any bit, so we did not change it. If I had this horse for training, ideally I would ride him without a bit, but I would be working on riding in a much gentler hackamore, but the thing is just be very, very gentle. So he's neck reined, so riding one hand, putting very light pressure on the reins. You can see I have very light pressure, and as soon as he softens the tiniest bit, I put light pressure on. Now I do the same thing when he speeds up, as I put light pressure on, and if he slows down at all, I release. So this is the exercise that I do first with the gaited horse, is work on head down. And so right there, he starts to speed up. I'm going to put light pressure on. And again, my goal isn't looking for head down. It's looking for him to soften and bring his nose toward his chest. Now, here's an interesting thing. Whenever I watch my own videos, go back and watch them, I always get mad at myself because I'm never stopping and praising enough. So let that be a lesson. I'm going to point out times where I probably should have stopped and praised and I didn't. And that's to remind myself what I need to be doing. So here we go, holding light pressure with the reins, asking him to bring his nose toward his chest. As soon as he does, I do a big release. Now, this is important to do a big release. You can't just do a little release with the horse. So there's a big release, big drape in the reins. And then as soon as he speeds up, or as soon as he puts his head back up, I'll pick my reins back up and ask him again to soften. And I do that pretty much immediately, but gently, because I never want a horse to be high-headed. I'm always going to be asking them to drop their head. Always, always, always. And you'll see also that I don't go around the outside of the arena. I'm going in constant circles. Now, not small circles, but a circle. One is so that the audience can hear me, who's right underneath the camera. And two, it's to keep the horse from going in a straight line where he's most likely going to be speeding up. That's normal. And we don't want that. See, I release the reins. Every time he softens, I release. If he doesn't drop his head, that's fine. I just gently pick up my reins again. Now, there's quite a few times where I should have been stopping and praising and I wasn't. So that is my bad. And I am always trying to get better at doing more stop and praise, or as somebody let them pointed out, let him soak it in. So right there, he softened, big drape in the reins, and that head is coming down. Now, a lot of people would look at that head and go, well, that's nice and low. Well, the thing is, we'd like to see it lower, a lot lower. And you're going to see in this lesson, there you go. See how he put his head way down? That's what we want right there. Now, I think I'm going to stop and praise for that, which is excellent. That is how low we want it. That is how low we want the horse to put his head down when we're training this. It facilitates relaxation and it encourages the horse to lift their back. Now, the goal is to get him to be more balanced. Most horses that are pacing are very stiff through their back and hollowing their back. So the opposite of that at the beginning is putting the head way down and getting them to use their back, which is basically what I'm saying right now. I also am letting you see how long I'm letting this horse stand. You notice that he put his head way down, right? Well, when he did that, I'm going to stop and praise. I'm going to let him stand there. I'm going to let him just think about that. So here I'm just gently asking him to bring his nose in. This is right there. He just softened slightly. Again, it's not just about head down. It's about softness. Whether you're riding in a hackamore, bitless bridle, or a bit, you need to teach him to soften and break at the poll, give you vertical flexion, bring his nose toward his chest. Those are all the same thing. And once he does that, you need to do a big release. See how much I release those reins? Look at that drape. Now, you may have to pick it up again right away if the horse speeds up, but you want to always release. That's part of the training process, just like stop and praise. If the horse never gets a big release, he never knows what he was doing that's correct. You want the horse to know when he's done something right, and we do that with big releases. So here I'm gently picking up on my reins, holding light pressure, very, very soft, and as soon as he drops his head, release. Now, it's also important for you to see how low that head goes, and I'm going to ride in just a minute, but I want you to see that it's okay to stand for a long time. And part of it at clinics, when I'm standing, I do that so that I can talk to people and answer questions. Light pressure, asking him to soften, and he's very focused right now. So you see I'm vibrating the reins just a little bit, trying to ask him to soften. Now, generally, I don't do this exercise very often, as most of the time horses will get bracy doing this, and it doesn't help them learn it when they do it at the walk. Again, after we show this video of him learning it at the walk, I'm going to show you at faster speeds, and then also on day 3, you're going to see a big difference in how this horse moves and how quickly he responds. So I'm holding light pressure. I'm not pulling harder. That's the thing. A lot of you will put light pressure on and then we'll get frustrated and then we pull harder. Honestly, my best option would be to hold the same pressure or to honestly release the pressure and start again. And that's something that I'm slowly learning, that holding that constant pressure when there's no change often doesn't teach the horse anything, where if I release and start again, I'm going to make more progress than if I hold that pressure and keep after the horse, which in some ways is counterintuitive or counter to what we're taught. We're taught, don't let the horse win, hold that pressure until they give. And I myself have taught that, but I'm trying to learn to be a better horseman. And so releasing is always better than holding pressure or getting harsher. Now, that's not talking about like in a safety or an emergency situation. So here we're going to walk off. Again, we're working on softness and head down. Look at the drape in the reins. Look how slow he's walking now. The owner did not think the horse would be putting his head down and walking this slowly. He said he's never walked this slowly before. And so that was all we did, was get softness a couple of times and head down, and we stopped for like 2 minutes. 2 minutes. And then the horse is walking off nicely. That's all I did. I literally just got on this horse, however many minutes it's been, like 4 minutes ago in the video time, and he's already walking slowly and dropping his head with light pressure. Now, anytime that head comes up, like right there, it's starting to come up, I'm going to put light pressure on and hold that pressure light, and then as soon as he softens his nose, I'm going to do a big release. And I'm going to trust that he's not going to speed up. All right, so that was what we were talking about at the walk. That is him learning to drop his head at the walk. It's the very first time I've ever been on that horse working on head down. And that's basically what you're going to do. And so I'm going to go ahead and ask you if there's any questions. Zach says, I ride a Missouri foxtrotter who tends to shift between a hard trot and a foxtrot. Will training down with head down encourage foxtrot over trot? I don't want to discourage his gait, but I'd love to abolish the true trot if I'm able to. Generally, the only answer I found is that pushing faster gets a foxtrot, but he can get faster than I'd like at times. We're definitely stopping and praising when he gets it right. Now wondering about the headset. Great question. I'm going to answer it briefly, and then I'm going to point you to a different video. So this video is to help horses relax, and specifically to help pacey horses gait. So the head down is to help him relax. So if you have any bit of nervousness or his head's up high, you want to train this first. But actually, for a horse that trots, we actually lift the head up. And I think, Zach, are you on my private training group? If you are, there's a whole series of 5 or 6 videos that shows you exactly how to get him out of that trot and into the foxtrot, which I think you're going to find is pretty easy once you know how to do it. So head down is for relaxation and pacey horses and any horse with a high head. And then after that, we're going to do some head up. And go ahead and Zach, if you're on the private training group, let me know, and I will tag you in those videos. And I'll also share in the link in the description the other videos about how to get the horse out of the trot. Now back to the head down. A lot of you have been able to get head down when you get it at the walk, but how do you get head down when you go into a faster speed? Well, here we go. This is the same horse, just about 10 minutes later. I cut out just a lot of walking. And here we're working on head down when we speed up. The same thing applies. We speed up, go in a circle, light pressure, and as soon as he softens the tiniest bit, you're going to see me release the reins. Now again, riding him in a mechanical hackamore, which can provide a lot of pressure, so I'm trying to be very, very gentle. I'm holding light pressure, and as soon as he softens the tiniest bit, I'll release. And if he drops his head, great. And if he slows down to a walk, that's also good, because I want him to learn to go on a loose rein and not have to have constant contact. And we want him to know that when we release the reins, that means slow down, not necessarily speed up. So here we're going to stop and praise again. So what a lot of you have trouble with is that faster speed. So you've got head down at the walk, and you've got your horse softening at the walk. But then when you speed up, that head comes up. This is so normal. You are not alone. I promise you. That's most horses. What you need to do then is ride that faster speed on a small circle, not tiny, but small, and hold that light pressure just like you were at the walk. And as soon as there's the slightest bit of softening, release the reins and ideally stop and praise. That's all there is to it, but it's the step that almost everyone skips. Very, very, very rarely do I go to a clinic and have a horse come that's been taught head down at the walk and faster speeds. You do this, and you're going to help yourself and me, if I ever get to help you, get a gait. If you do nothing else but train head down and softness, this is going to make your job easier. Or if I do a lesson with you or training, this one thing is going to make everything easier. I know it seems a little bit strange to say that, and that's all it takes, but that is literally all you need to do to get a better gait. And I want you to see again how long I stop and stand there. Yes, I'm answering a question, but part of it is because this horse is soaking it in. The horse is thinking about what the reward was for, why I released the reins, and they're processing. This is where horses learn gait. This is where they learn anything, in the rest period, not the work period. You need to remember that. It's so, so important to remember that when you are training. It's during the rest that the horse is learning what you want them to do, not while you're working them. So in just a minute, I'm going to go ahead and move off, and I'm going to ask for that faster speed. And you're going to see him start to put his head down a lot. And then after I answer a few more questions, I'm going to show you the video on day 3, where we're now in his home area, which is where he's more excitable by his buddies and working on head down, and you'll see a big difference there. So I'm going to speed up again. When I ask, I'm going to hold light pressure, looking for softness, not just head down. There he softened, and I released, and look at how low that head is. Now see that head came right back up, so I put light pressure on. Holding the light pressure. Don't pull harder. If you're going to want to, I hold enough pressure that he doesn't speed up too much, and as soon as he softens, I release. There he sped up and put his head up, light pressure, and release. Look at how much he drops his head. and I always did a good job and stopped and praised for that. That's what I should do right there. All right. So again, stop and praise. And I leave these in there. It would have been easy when I was getting this video ready for you guys to cut this out, but I want you to see how much I do, how long stop and praise lasts, so that you can think that it drags on and on and on just in the video, but it's going to feel like it when you're on your horse. It's going to feel even longer when it's you on your own horse, but you need to sit there and take it. So that's actually part of the other exercise I do, but head down is the thing that really gets the horses to relax and start to be more balanced. Now, we do not ask them to stay in head down. So you see, as low as he was putting it, we don't ask him to stay there. We let him bring it up. But if you have a high-headed horse, you must train head down first. Before you work on any steps of gait, before you use ground poles, before you use any exercises you hear from anybody else, if your horse's head is up, then they are hollowing their back, and it's very hard on their joints and their body long term. And if you want them to be sound longer, you want to really get them set up to be balanced and carry themselves and the rider well. Then you're going to be set up for the gait. And again, I'm not fast forwarding through this because I want you guys to see it. I'm going to ask them to walk off here. Light pressure is all I'm putting on the reins to ask them to soften. You can't do too much of this. Holding light pressure with my reins, very light. And there, he softened right there, and I do a big release. And he starts to drop his head, and he walks slower. That's what I love. You know it works when you drop the reins, when the horse walks slower, that tells you they're getting it. They're relaxing versus just walking faster and putting their head up. Holding light pressure, there he softened. Now's a good time to ask for some speed or some gait. And the trick is, once you get head down at the walk, you must train it at the faster speed, even if it's not the fun part. So see how high his head is? Right there, he softened, and then I released immediately. See how quick of a change that is? That's how fast you need to release and then stop and praise. So speed up, very light pressure. But notice, he doesn't drop his head while I'm pulling. He drops his head after I release the reins. So right here, ask him to speed up. He's a big horse. I run out of room. Ask him to speed up. Notice that it's when I release, that's when he drops his head. This is so important. The horses drop their head when you release the reins. So holding light pressure, there, I dropped the reins. That's when he dropped his head. I need you guys to see that. It's so important for you to see that when I release the reins is when they drop their head, because that's what's important for you to go home and try to duplicate. It's not while you're pulling that they drop their head, but it's when you release the reins. Again, this is Cougar. He's a Tennessee walking horse. You can see this complete video on my private training group. The link is in the description if you want to join. I just put his clinic videos online today, and so you can watch this complete training of a horse that generally is hot, who's hot and fast and high-headed, and we're working on changing for him to relax. Again, he's neck reined, and this is what you need to do after you get your horse to drop their head while they're walking. You need to do this to get them to drop their head while they're going faster. It's essential, and you cannot skip this at all. So I'm asking, there you go. On the release, he dropped his head. Look at that. Slow walk, relaxed horse. So there I speed him up. His head comes up. Light pressure, holding light pressure. I don't pull harder. Hold the same pressure. I only pull harder if he speeds up. And there he softened, and I dropped the reins. And the head came down immediately. A lot of people are terrified to drop those reins, but if you do not let those reins go, you will not have a horse that relaxes and puts their head down. Just like that, he put his head down twice there for us. We stopped and praised. Okay, so I wanted you guys to see that. In just a minute, I'm going to show you a video from day 3 at his own property where he's a little bit keyed up, but I wanted you guys to see that it's when you drop the reins, that's when they drop their head. Abigail says, I love all your videos so much. Everything I try that you teach is helpful to my gaited mares. Thanks so much for all your info. You are so welcome, Abigail. PJ said, if a horse isn't gaiting correctly, do I stop? No praise, start again, then correct if I stop and praise? Well, I'm not sure. Here's the thing. I train this whether the horse is gaiting correctly or not. So lots of times Oh, we lost some signal here. Hang on, trying to figure out what's wrong. And hotspot and on. There we go. See if we're connected here. Okay. All right, I'm going to keep going and hope that the signal connects again here. So PJ says, open browser. Okay, hang on. Redirect. No cell data. Okay. Ha. I see. Well. Add. Okie dokie. All right. Figures. And reconnection successful. Okay. There we go, guys. That's bad. Okay, so sorry for that technical glitch there. I think we're back online. Okay, so okay, so sorry for that technical glitch. We're back. Answering the questions we have here. The horse and gaiting correctly to stop and praise. So when you're training head down, you need to, even if they're not gaiting correctly, you must train head down. It doesn't matter. If you don't have a good head down, then you can't train the gait. So when they're pacing and working on head down, I totally stop and praise. I don't even care what gait they're doing until after they start to get it, until they after have head down. I don't care if they're pacing, trotting, stepping pace. I work on head down above all else. Chrissy says, so what I see you do when you go faster and ask for head down, horse breaks back to a walk. Okay, yes. I don't care that he puts his head down and he walks. I'm working on calmness and relaxation. As the horse goes on, I'll ask him to put the head down and keep going. But when I'm working on relaxation, which is what most horses need, I let them slow down. Later on, you can then add back in the asking them to keep going and put the head down, but that comes later. I'm showing you the beginning of it, not the end goal. The end goal isn't even head down. The end goal is gaiting. Okay, so we're going to go to day 3. So here's Cougar, day 3, working on head down here. And this is in his pasture. His buddies are there. He's a little bit buddy sour now that he's home. A lot of you can relate to this issue. We're working on just on head down. So everything's the same. Saddle's the same. The hackamore is the same. We're just working on some head down here and releasing. So we're in a brand new place, which means everything's a little bit harder. You can't assume the horse knows what you want. Holding light pressure. There we go. So you're going to see, at first I'm doing it at the walk, easier speed, and then I'm going to do it speeding up, and you're going to see him drop his head much faster and be much calmer, and that's the goal. All right, so again, this is at the walk, and hopefully the goal is to then get him to do this when he speeds up. Look at that low head, and to get him to keep it lower longer, and that just takes practice. So holding light pressure, keep asking for head down. I do this constantly. So there's the head down, I leave him alone. Head comes up above his withers, I ask again. If he keeps it below his withers, I don't bother him. So Zach says for trotty horses, so with forward trotty horses, it's correct but not harmful to train head down for relaxation before switching to head training. Yes, Zach, exactly right. That's a great way of putting it and exactly what I would say. So here we go with Cougar here again, asking for head down. If he keeps it below his withers, I don't bother him. As soon as it comes up, I ask for head down again. Constantly. Every time that head comes up, ask for head down, but always release the reins. There we go. Nice head down. Stop and praise here. And in just a minute, I am going to ask him to speed up. Again, a lot of people tell me that they can get the head down when the horse is going slowly, but they can't when they speed up. And that is the thing that you need to really train. And I can't train it for you. You just have to kind of do the work and know that it's going to take some work to do. So I'm going to speed. We're going to go. We're going to head off again, and then I think I'm going to ask him to speed up here and work on head down. And at the beginning, he's going to be high-headed and resist a little bit, but then you're going to start seeing him remember the exercises and drop his head. And again, this horse is neck rein, which is why I'm riding one-handed. Normally, I would do all of this training with two hands for most horses. There we go. Beautiful head down. He's much faster to drop it, and he keeps it down longer. And again, this is only after 3 days. A lot of people would get discouraged, but already he's putting it down, but he still brings it up. And so if he does, I ask for head down. Look at that. That's beautiful. That's no hands. That horse had never done this before. Walked with his head down that long. Great time to stop and praise. So he stops. We're letting him rest. Really, really nice job there. Stop and praise is so good. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and let me know. I'll be finishing up with these videos in a sec. So here we're going to go ahead and ask for a faster speed when I walk off. And again, I want to show you these stop and praise sessions because I want you to see that it is uncomfortably long even if you're not on your own horse. It does take a while, and it's super important for you to see that. So again, notice I'm not going around the outside of the arena. We're going in some circles. Here's that faster speed. And right away, I'm asking him to drop his head. Now, notice his head isn't as high as it was before. Look at that. Look at how much lower it is. And I'm asking him to speed up, not canter. Speed up and see how this is where people asked about keeping going. So this is more where I'm asking him to drop and keep going. But if he slows down to a walk when I release, I'm okay with that. There we go. See how he keeps going a little bit longer? People ask about training the gait with that head down, and this is it right here. This horse is gaiting nicely, but I'm still training him to drop his head because he gets very hot and excited, and we really, really, really want to train him to be relaxed. And look at that. There we go. So, Chrissy, that kind of answers your question there. See, now he's gaiting with his head down, but he's not just walking. Here I'm going to stop and praise, and that's what I want you guys to see. That was absolutely just beautiful right there. So we got a little bit of a technical issue because I didn't account for the sun moving that much. So we're going to finish up here. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. And I want to talk about head down. So again, links in the description for the private training group if you want to see this horse's whole session. That's there. And I just uploaded it today, so that's brand new video. This is the exercise you can do to try to help your horse have a much better relaxation, have a better gait. It's the first exercise I would do with any horse, quarter horse, Arabian, thoroughbred, any breed. Crystal says, excellent, exactly what I need to work on with both my horses, thank you. And if you want to review the training process, there's a link for the free training video on head down. Linda says, when do you decide to end, stop, and praise and start going again? Sometimes it's just because I'm talking. A lot of times I wait for horses to take a deep breath or lick and chew, but I try to wait at least a minute longer is better. Sometimes I get my phone out and do stuff on my phone, wait for them to seem like they process. If they had to work really hard recently, then I stay longer. The harder they had to work or the more frustrated they were with the exercise, the longer I give them a break. Lori says, love this. I need clarity in starting head down. So I'm glad you asked. So if you need help with how to start doing the head down, the link in the description is for the free training video on how to do head down, and it goes through the steps again, and you can always rewatch this video as well. Let me know if you have any questions, and thanks guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day and a great ride.